Ladies and gentlemen, now we got less than 24 hours till Black Clover goes live on the Korean version, and everybody is just shooting in the dark at the moment, trying to like scrape together all the clips, the new forum information we got today from the Korean forums on combat and units and status effects as well, and just trying to figure out who may be the best characters to go for on the initial reroll banner. So they know that every other gacha game, if you're not familiar with this already when it comes to Black Clover, they've put in like a re-rolling feature. Absolutely goated, mate. So many like gacha games, like you have to spend like hours re-rolling if you're free to play just to get that god tier character. But apparently, when you start in Black Clover, you can re-roll 20 times for free and also save a summon as well on the left-hand side. So if you roll first, it's a terrible one. Second, it's terrible. Third, you're like, oh, it's pretty good. That's a god tier character, one SSR, but maybe if I went for more rolls, I could get 2 SSRs. You can still save that really good one and then keep on rolling, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, man. So yeah, this banner like seems absolutely crazy for beginners, but also it's the thing of everybody's going to be going in on day one trying to figure out, okay, like there are, I believe, 21 SSRs at the game on launch, or, very close to that. I think on this banner, there's probably going to be at least like 10, 15 units, but which are going to be the most valuable from the information that we have, the stuff we learned from the beta, which again has changed a fair bit in many different directions, and also the forum post and via animation leak videos. So I'm going to go through today some additional information, everything we have to try and make a bit more of an informed decision. Because for me, it's kind of like it's between 2 units that I want to go for, I think, on this banner, maybe 3 units. But it's either Rill, it's either Lotus, or Yami. I think those are kind of the 3 that I'm looking for. And I'll explain why. Maybe Jack as well. Like, Jack would not be a bad option. If you got Jack and somebody else, like, pretty damn promising, like Mars again could be exceptional as well. But I think off the first banner, I'm really looking for like that AoE powerhouse, just somebody that's just going to be able to like just smash through all of the opponents, deal like massive damage. Because again, a lot of the early game, which again is what the starter banner is for, you just want an amazing unit that's just going to hit all of your opponents and just giga farm very, very quickly, so you can get through the story, you can get more gems, you do more summons on the banner, etc., etc. But yeah, everybody's just stabbing in the dark. So that's the big disclaimer here. Is we just speculating based off limited information that we have, and we do have such limited information. So again, when it comes to the global release of this, there are going to be much more concrete guides. At the moment, we're just picking through like any scraps that we can. We're digging, we're trying to find a little bit of alpha, we're trying to find some good information on these characters. Now, we got some really, really cool stuff. So one thing that I really liked about Rill's animation change, and shout out to Giku for sending this over. Again, Giku and Kaku, absolute giga chads on the data mining, is the second ability, Game of the Gods, used to be the counter on Rill on the first beta, and that actually wasn't too valuable because stuff would again, if you were farming, die very quick, that it wouldn't have the opportunity to attack into you, or if you're doing PvP, like you just slow and stun the opponents and they wouldn't attack into you either if you had a control team. But now that one's been changed, if you see on the right hand side, to just like an AoE wave attack. And on top of that, they also changed his ultimate animation as well, which I believe, again, this looks like an AoE, oh, it's hitting all of the targets, like big explosion. So you have not only his ultimate ability, which is going to be hitting very hard, but that special too, like, look phenomenal, or the skill too. So I think that's like a really big upgrade, which I think is going to make Rill like super valuable. Again, just for the early game, if you stack them up with gear, you've got like a massive L2 skill just to power through stuff, and also the ultimate as well. So Rill, I think, is a really, really interesting option. Previously, again, with the counter, I thought he was a bit too slow, but I actually think he has even more potential now for beginners, whether or not that power level is still relevant and lasts into endgame. But I think at the bare minimum, having like an AoE ultimate and also an AoE second skill is going to make him really, really valuable for farming. So Rill is actually really up there for me. Like, I'd love to see that. Charlotte has some new updated animations and stuff. But yeah, I really don't think I would like to see Charlotte on the opening banner, because yeah, she was a little bit by far the worst SSR I played on beta, so I got a bit of PTSD. The really interesting thing with Vengeance, if Vengeance still has his second ability, which stuns and drains, he's got this new ultimate now. Previously, it was like a cocoon of life that also had a chance to give immortality, and it was all right, but it was very unreliable. And now he's got an AoE nuke. So Vengeance may be pretty damn crazy. Vengeance, I think he's a really good control character, and again, a bit of a finer wine when it came to the first beta. He was an amazing character to get when, again, you were going for PvP, but he might be completely different now. So I'm very, very curious to see how he shapes up in comparison to the first one. But having like a big AoE ult on all of the opponents, again, could be super, super valuable for AoE farming, but it depends how his other two skills have been reworked, and also the effect, like the secondary effect and damage of his AoE as well. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that works out. Charmy, I think got buffed from like a R to an SR character now. So yeah, she's a little bit better than she was before. But yeah, I'm really curious, dude. I don't think Charmy like had that much attention paid into her during the first one. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to play around with Charmy, man. She looks like a super fun character by comparison. Now, there were some changes to Jack as well. So Jack, it looks like they completely shifted the design. There's a couple of things here which I've pieced together, um, not only via this gameplay clip, but also via the forum post as well, because they've reworked how debuffs work. And they did this big forum post on the Korean forums kind of explaining status effects. But previously, the skill 1 was like an AoE slash, as you can see, hits all targets. And also like reduced maximum health by a bit. It was okay, but it wasn't like absolutely amazing. The main value from Jack came from the combined attack, which applied double bleed stacks, and then you could get like additional bleeds on top of that, extend it, and then use a ultimate for big damage, which scaled off the amount of bleeds that you had on the opponent. So they've actually changed this design. If you see left versus right, you got an AoE slash versus a single target nuke on the skill 1. Now, this is kind of, I don't know what like the gear difference and scaling is here, because that's kind of the main factor for evaluation. But he's actually got a disadvantage here. So everything is hitting into disadvantage. So he's getting like a fairly significant damage reduction. And it's still a very, very hard hitting skill 1. So it kind of seems like Jack has been reworked, at least from what we can see on the skill 1 ability. And his second skill, we actually got via a post. We got a breakdown of this and a little bit of a look at it from a post by Kaku earlier. If we like scroll down, we should be able to find it here. But yeah, it's here. So it's actually this one. And the translation of this new skill. So previously it was like a triple slash bleed, which was pretty good. And now on the skill 2, he's got like a massive penetration increase buff for 2 turns, and also a massive crit buff for 1 turn as well, and also a speed increase buff for 2 turns. So he's going to move a lot faster, he's going to hit a lot harder on the base, and also he's going to have a higher crit chance as well, instead of having this like single target triple bleed. Now, the additional piece to the puzzle on this one is that bleeds have been, according to this status effect translation, which may or may not be correct. I believe this one is correct, though. I got this directly from Kaku here. Apparently, bleed now is like non-stackable. So there's still going to be bleeds, but instead of like having multi-stacks of it, it's just going to be a big bleed. And poison is non-stackable. It's just 1 stack of poison. And burn stacks up to 3 times, and electric shock from characters like Luck stack up to 3 times as well. So yeah, I'm really curious, because this probably means that Jack's combined attack has also changed a bit in the ultimate. But the fact, like in this very brief clip, he appears to be hitting quite hard single target into disadvantage there, actually makes me feel like, again, they've done a rework to Jack just to make him like a really big single target nuker. So again, might be absolutely amazing if you are struggling with certain bosses, but I'm not sure, because they have removed that AoE again from his first skill, that he's necessarily going to be like the really good auto farming champion he was, because you can just like lash out the skill 1 constantly and use the combined attack on cooldown. So again, that made him really nice for kind of just like clearing through stuff very fast. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Jack, but Jack, I think because of this, is not going to be the character that I want off the the starting banner, but when I get to some of the raid bosses, the big golem is definitely a character that I want to get up and try out. And I also just want to see how the PvP meta has evolved. You know, is it still like a bit of an AoE control fest, or is it a single target burst fest? And if it is, and if Jack's viable, then yeah, he might be a little bit of a monster. So yeah, I'm super excited to see Jack in action, because again, he was so good on the first beta build, and he's had like a nice update as well to his ultimate ability. And they also changed Leopold from, what is it, an SR to an SSR, and updated his skills as well. So this character, I remember, was, I think, absolute booty cheeks on the first beta. So hopefully they've made him really good. I do love that animation, dude. He looks proper sick. So yeah, he's been moved up to SSR as well. So I'm curious to see how he performs for Fuegoleon. Now there's also been a bit of a burn change. They've kind of capped out and balanced burns as well. Going to be a little bit interesting. And it also looks like there has been a buff to Yami as well. And Yami, I don't know if this is like his ultimate skill. I believe it may be, but also does apply a bleed here. So if we look at the translations for this one, it applies a crit rate increase. And if you watched the tier list video yesterday, we were talking about Yami. Just like he needed more crit. Like that was the big thing. Like Yami and Fuegoleon, they were good characters, but they had a lot of stuff that kind of scaled up with like actually critting the opponent, and it was really hard to, with all these like crit down debuffs, actually crit opponents. And the fact that he's got this now, plus a fairly high chance. Again, this isn't a guaranteed one. It's 60%. But then maybe upgrading the ability as well, you can kind of patch this over to 100%. Not entirely sure there. So yeah, again, it is only like a single target bleed, but again, maybe interesting. Didn't have this bleed before. Bleed looks like it may have been amplified significantly in terms of its kind of base stack damage instead of it being split across several stacks there. So yeah, that could be a little bit interesting. And it still looks like he has the link skill to what is it, slash all enemies as well. And this one is still really nice for farming. Like Yami, I think, is going to be solid and not bad at all. But again, the ultimate is only single target, and I really want characters. Again, you kind of fight opponents in waves of 3, so you can make a lot of use of like level 2 skills. You can make a lot of use of ultimates. So yeah, that's why I'm really interested in Rill, and I'm also still really interested in Lotus as well, because I think Lotus, from what we can see on various promotional videos as well, he still has like the same ability icons that he did previously. So yeah, I think and I hope that he still has like that ability to just what is it, like giga spam on the special one and just kind of murder people down. But for now, there are still like so many unknowns when it comes to all of these characters. But I just wanted to update you on kind of the new information I found and kind of what's changed, and what I found out since the very kind of rough framework tier list that I put out. And it's been great to kind of like go through all of this stuff that's emerged over the last month and see, okay, that's what it looked like in beta. Now we're approaching launch. You know, some of these abilities look completely different in comparison. So yeah, massive love once again, Kaku Giku, just putting in so much work when it comes to kind of bringing up all this information, and also sharing it. Yeah, a link to both of their channels, both of their Twitters will be in the description of the video. Please follow them. Please check them out, because I think they're going to be putting out so much more stuff. And I'm just really excited to kind of get involved in the testing, the conversations around all of these units, because it's really fun when like a new game comes out and it's like uncharted territory and like nobody knows what's good. And like my favorite thing, if you follow this channel like all the way back from 7 Deadly Sins, is like I love like playing with the characters like nobody wants to play with, and be like, okay, in this scenario, like when we did the Griamore versus the One Escanor video, or like making Gloxinia or Monspeed or Droll teams, or just all this like really weird stuff we did back in the day. It's so much fun, dude. And I really hope this game has a meta that allows me to explore kind of all the strengths and weaknesses of these characters. It seems again incredibly complex and deep in terms of all of the debuffs that you have in the game. There's all sorts of things. There's attack reduction, defense reduction. You've got penetration stats, patience reduction stats, crit rate reduction, crit damage reduction, modifiers to speed, healing over time, crit resistance, blockage, stuff to shields as well. There's like, friggin' like 30 different debuffs in this game. So yeah, it really is going to be like a little bit crazy going through all of this and kind of testing out all the interactions. And I'm hoping for a bit more of a balanced and interesting build. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Again, the characters I'm going to be looking for on the banner are Rill and Lotus. I think at the moment, maybe Mars. Mars is good, but I don't know if I'm going to need him early on. But Mars is definitely one of those characters. I'm actually really interested to see what they've done to Nozel as well, because he had potential to be a really, really interesting character, and it looks like they've pushed some pretty significant changes to every character that we've seen so far. So he's one that may be a little bit of a sleeper. And we also have some additional Magic Knight captains and also members of the Eye of the Midnight Sun that were not in the beta version. But also, I do feel like, and I want to say this, man, hashtag justice for Gordon, bro. Like, most of the other members of the Black Bulls, they got upgraded to SR units. They brought like Charmy up. They brought the squad up, bro. But Gordon, he's chilling. They did not let him get out of the R tier, bro. Gordon is in the R tier with Sister Lily. So yeah, that's a little bit of disrespect. I can maybe understand the arguments for it, but that is, yeah, a huge level of disrespect, man. The developers are certainly not Gordon enjoys there. But yeah, this lineup for the launch of the game is looking really, really solid. And again, there are just so many characters that Black Clover can add in. So I'm really interested to see how they build up the roster throughout the course of the first like few months of the game. Because yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really good time. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy today's breakdown, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you all. Take care, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.